we have to talk about assumptions. The assumptions you make in Our History Untold, like you assume how something works in real life or how something works in other 4X games, and then you are taking that assumption and you are transferring it into Our History Untold, but that's totally not how it works. You don't notice it, you start to make mistakes, and maybe your run is even ruined. So let's rectify that. The first thing I want to talk about when it comes to assumptions is assuming the city limit. Whenever you build something in Our History Untold, you have probably already figured that out yourself, there are a lot of buildings you can just build to your heart's content, and then there are some buildings which have a limitation to it. You also see it not just at the number, but at the little icon. And like the fortress here is a wonderful example. You can only build the fortress once per city, so you need to go to a new city to build another fortress. But the problem here is, and this is where the assumption is coming in, the game is also confusing you, because this icon here at the side means two things, and they are using it for both things. So when you see this icon, you assume, okay, this building has a city limit, and you're probably correct. But there are also buildings which have a national limit. Wait, there's a national limit in the game? Yeah, if you have ever wondered why some buildings completely disappear from your building queue, even though you are in a new city where you haven't really built the building yet, that's the reason for it. You can see it right here with the mill. You can see I have built 3 out of 6, and that's because there is a nation limit of 6. This is per city, this is per nation. And they're using the same icon. There's not really a way to distinguish it besides of just hovering over it and check on it. And that's a little bit infuriating and also confusing because, again, I've seen a lot of people assuming that it's all city limits. I have actually assumed that at the beginning. So they are putting down like tons of mills in one city, then they are trying to do that in the next city, and they're like, oh, damn, my game bugged. The mill is gone. It's like, no, you probably just reached the nation limit, right? And you have to look out for that. Another thing we have to talk about is assuming what a building does. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but as you probably have already noticed, and you know that of course, is that every building is being counted as a certain category. Like you can see it right here with the sawmill, it's an impact building. And you're always trying to put all those buildings together which have the same category so that they're working better. The problem is there are quite a bit of buildings which you assume that they are doing something specific, but they don't. Let me just give you a wonderful example here. This is my little science corner. I did put down all the buildings which will produce science for me, and the last building I actually put here was the library. Why did I put the library here? Well, because A, it's a library, B, it will produce books for you, and C, it's also needing books, and it also starts to produce knowledge for your city. So it's a science building, right? No, it isn't. It is actually a culture building. You can see it right here at the right of the icon. Yes, the library is a culture building, and with that, it goes into the culture corner. So please check your buildings on what they do. Another example? Sure. This one is a little bit more easier and open, but let's say we have the coffee house. And when I first saw the coffee house, because they are producing coffee there, I was like, that's the workshop, right? No, it's another cultural building. Again, this is a little bit easier, and you could definitely say, yeah, it's a coffee shop. Like, come on, man, that's culture, right? But they are still producing coffee, so I thought production, it's counting into production. This is one of the easier ones, but I just wanted to show that. But one of the things which definitely got me off guard is the press, or as they call it, the print shop, right? The print shop is one of those buildings, and when I first built it, I was like, that's a workshop. No, wait, I've done this mistake before. Maybe it's a cultural building. No, it's an impact building. It's counting as farms, or, well, when you have woodcutters or mines, those are impact buildings. And it's like, how is this an impact building? You are clearly producing something here, papers, which could be culture or production. Why is this impact? And which makes it even weirder is that the modifier this building gives, even though it's an impact building, is craft production as an outgoing modifier. So it's still helping with the craft production. Well, not really, because it's only for itself, so it doesn't really work in itself. It's weird, right? But the point is, you should definitely stop assuming that buildings count into certain categories when they don't, and you should put them into areas where they make sense after you checked on that. Speaking about buildings, and speaking about the improvements you can put down, please, also very important, make sure that you are checking what an improvement does. Because sometimes you will have buildings where you have actually multiple different categories, like tools and gears are one category, and the tools are better for farming, while the gear is better for the production. But they're in the same category, and you might think, oh, they're the same tier, they're the same category, so it doesn't really matter what I put here. It does matter, seriously. Speaking about items you put into all the buildings to improve, there is one thing right now I have to point out, and that is the Weaver has, of course, as you know, the, what is it called? I always forget the name. The loom. There we go. The loom, right, which gives you 200% craft production. Unfortunately, it's bugged. It doesn't do anything. You can see here I can remove it, and it will do absolutely nothing with the production. I can put it in again. It will do absolutely nothing with the production. This item right now doesn't work. That sucks. Just something to keep an eye out for. I hope they will actually fix it soon, because that's definitely a bug. But again, speaking about improvements, please do yourself a favor and start actually putting supplies into your residence. Don't do what I have done here to showcase this, because I see that a lot of people are not filling this up because they're always like, oh, I don't really know if this is worth it, if this is really helping me. And the answer to that is yes. Those are only small stats, as you can see. But think about that. You have about 7 dwellings, aka residences, and all the upgrades in your cities. Like 7 is totally doable. Just multiply this with 7, and you realize, huh, that's actually quite a bit of stats I will get for quality of life in my city if I'm filling up all the residences. Keep in mind, though, you should have, of course, the items and the quantity to put them there, of course. But you should do that. I see too many people in live streams, YouTube videos, and all that, which never fill up their residences. And then they're also complaining about low quality of life in their city. I'm like, yeah, how about you're filling up those 7 or even 10 residences you have in your city, and then your city would be much happier. But with that said, those are 3 things I wanted to point out when it comes to people assuming how they are working in other games or even in real life, and they are not necessarily working like that in Ara History Untold. If you have some ideas you could mention here which will help people not to assume things, let me know down below in the comments. I would definitely appreciate that. Also helps me. Maybe I don't know anything, right? Or everything. Well, I don't know anything, but if I know everything, that's another question. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like. Also, if you're new to the channel, you want to see more Ara History Untold videos and also strategy games, which is what we are focusing on here in the channel, I would appreciate if you might consider to subscribe. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Stay safe. Bye-bye.